Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman ZX Advent. These ruins aren't very floating. What? Ah! What happened? The ground's floating. What's going on? Are you alright? That area is experiencing a gravitational anomaly. Also, powerful energy reactions have been discovered. In all likelihood, they are the cause of the gravitational anomaly. Proceed to investigate the energy reactions. And welcome to the floating ruins proper. As its name indicates, this place, despite looking a lot like, I think it's Area A from ZX Original, sharing the tile set a little bit at least, is filled with bottomless pits that can lead to your death. That's going to be your main death hazard here, barring some spikes in, I think, the second and third screens of it. But that said, there's not much to worry about here until the third screen, which is where we're going to see a lot of a wind gimmick come in. When you're on certain moving platforms, there's going to be one wind pushing and pulling you in either direction that gets really harsh on expert mode. And tornadoes that'll blow you away unless you're directly in the middle of them or using certain A-Trans transformations. With that said, I'm way too used to hearing this song. I've talked about it briefly, but I play a couple of like gacha games in the background, like Genshin Impact and such. But one of the ones I put a lot of time into is Megaman X-Dive. I haven't spent a cent on it thus far, but in that game, the floating ruins are there as a ZX representative stage, and they're one of the co-op stages, which are one of those stages. That's the stage top you like find another player to play with if you want to for the later one, or the early ones. You need to for the later ones. And you're supposed to do 2 of those a day, and I just spam the second floating ruin stage over and over again. So I have heard the X-Dive remix of this song way too many times. That said, it's a good remix. X-Dive has problems, but its soundtrack remixing has been genuinely really good. This is the screen where you're going to have a lot of the wind kick in. You can fight it more or less on normal and easy mode, but on hard mode, not so much. That said, we want to come in here. Hey, did you come looking for the booty too? I'm Meg, the antique hunter. The many inventions left to us by our forefathers. That's what I came here to these ruins to find. But all of a sudden, this place started floating in the air. And well, now I can't get out. Oh, by the way, could you help me with something? I'm picking up signals from 4 ancient artifacts. I've managed to find a few myself, but it's just too dangerous to get close. I bet it wouldn't be a problem for you. Could you find them and bring them to me? So throughout each of the 4 sections of floating ruins, there is now an item that is spawned that we need to find. With that said, it's easier to find them all, not only with Queen Bee, but after you've gotten the A-Trans transformation from the end of this stage. So we're going to focus on getting there first. With that said, once you've reached this screen, the area is pretty short. Honestly, the floating ruins, there's a reason I said I recommend coming here earlier. This and the control center, their transformations are really good, and they're not exactly the longest or hardest stages. There's a lot of instant death opportunities in this one, yes, but even then, you have to deal with some of them until you're doing certain side quests later on, so not much to worry about. With that said, it's now time for us to go tackle ourselves a boss fight.
What's a Model W doing here?
Could this be the source of the gravitational anomaly?
Inescapable destiny. So, you came, Megaman Model A. But I'll be taking the Model W.
Aeolus, what are you doing collecting Model Ws?
That's a silly question. You call yourself a Megaman, yet you don't even know the significance of Model W. You fear what you don't understand, and eliminate what you fear. It's because of foolish people like you that there is conflict.
I don't know what all of that ideological babble was about, but it sounded a lot like a threat.
So it is. In the world I have in mind, there is no place for idiots like you, Megaman Model A. Your time's up, fool.
Aeolus can be a little tricky because his main attack that he has against Gray is that he'll send tornadoes going around you, and it's really hard to dodge that. I think you have to do a very precise air dash or fly over with Queen Bee. He can do dashes across the air, which he'll do his 1, 2, 3 attacks from that Harpooia's had since 02, where he tends a sonic boom on the third one. No, he's had that since 01 now that I think about it. The thing is, though, I can't remember what the exclusive attack is for Gray versus Ash here. The biggest attack to watch out for, though, is when he summons 2 options from the sky as he floats down, and you need to dodge the electricity, because the hitboxes here are surprisingly tight. I don't exactly know why. It's really unforgiving compared to the rest of the fight. With that said, if you're tackling this fight as late as I have, you have plenty of sub-tanks, you have items to take care of yourself. It's nothing too hard.
A woeful miscalculation. To think that I could be bested by a defective. I'll never acknowledge one as ignorant as you, Megaman. Your time's up, fool. I will right this world's wrongs.
Extracting from code UC80 to AC195. Expanding report data. The power of biometal isn't something to be had by just anyone. It's a power which should only be obtained by a chosen one. One with the ability to change the world. I devised this cipher to lock away the power of the biometal. A cipher that would allow only the Chosen One to unleash its power. In other words, it's locked to its biomatch. All Reploids have to come to Legion to have their life cycle settings checked. I made sure that every Reploid I inspected was infused with my DNA. That is the key to the cipher, the proof of being the Chosen One. Yes, by viewing this data, you now have within you my DNA.
Gray, what's wrong?
Am I a descendant of Albert?
I know it's not easy, but don't let it get to you. That's just some label Albert made up. Try not to think about it.
Yeah.
That Albert guy just used his position as one of the Sage Trinity to do whatever he wanted.
It's true that Albert knew more about technology than anyone. But we had no idea that that was the kind of man he was. We should have known better.
It's okay. I had a feeling something like this might happen. But it feels like there is still some other secret to me and Model A.
And only Albert knows it.
The gravity in the area should normalize momentarily. Head to the next destination.
Yeah, the gravity never normalizes here. Rip this area, I guess. But now we transform into Aeolus, another one of my transformations. He only has 1 slash for each of his weapons, but you can chain them to do a sonic boom attack. He can hover by pressing the jump button in midair. And he has 2 variants of the air dash where you can either dash horizontally or vertically to get some extra air. And we can do that right here beneath the boss stage to find the first of the 4 artifacts for Meg. In this case, the light bulb, which is meant to be the life pickups for Mega Man 1. All 4 of the pickups are like classic Mega Man stuff. With that said, getting out of there without Queen Bee probably is going to require a death, so come and get that with Queen Bee. It seems you can air dash using Aeolus. If you hit the dash button in midair, it looks like you can get some horizontal hang time. If you hold the control pad up and press the dash button in midair, you can air dash straight up. Air dash doesn't reduce your BM gauge. If you press the jump button in midair, you can hover. You can modify this in the options menu. Hold down the attack button, then release it to perform an electric move. These electric attacks penetrate through the landscape, so you can use them to attack enemies behind walls. Also, Aeolus has the ability to check an enemy's data on the sub-display. Knowing an enemy's weakness, now that's an ability you can use. What they mean by that for Aeolus's touchscreen thing is if you're facing certain mini-bosses or boss fights, he'll mark the weak points of them on the sub-screen. So, say you're fighting Buckfire, for instance. He'll show that the feathers in the back of his head is the weak point. With Chronoforce, I think it's like near the tail. He's good for finding out where weak points are and thus dealing extra damage to boss fights. With that said, his charge shot's not great. You fire, I think, 2 tornadoes forward with Gray. And with Ash, I think that's the difference in the attack with Ash, even. You fire a tornado to either side of you. Aeolus, I use more for mobility than combat to compare him to Sarnak, who I use more for combat, and same with Atlas in her case. With that said, now we're going to backtrack all the way through this area in order to get the other 3 artifacts. For instance, here we got the L-Tank, which I believe is from Mega Man 5. I think Proto Man throws that at you during the end of the first castle to restore your HP. Now we're going to fast forward all the way here to Floating Ruins 2. This one can be a little tricky to get. The thing to note about the tornadoes here, you're still affected by their wind unless you're directly in the middle of them, but they don't affect your descent through them if you go through them with Aeolus. For instance, as you saw, the tornado just pushed me up because I stopped using the hover ability, but the hover ability completely nullifies them pushing you down. Some people think you have to go from the side to get this one. No, you can just come from the top. And this is the Pinwheel, the Asaichi from classic Capcom and Mega Man 1, which restored your health and weapon ammunition in any game it shows up in. There is another Pseudoroid you can use, who is one of the last 3 you can get in the game to easily get through the tornadoes here, but I'm not going to worry about that. Now, the item we have to get here in Floating Ruins 3 is a little tough. It's to my top, it's to the upper left of the area, right above me, more or less, right now. But if you want to get it at this point, it takes a very precise jump with Queen Bee and Aeolus' abilities combined, because there's these 2 green energy cannons in front of it, in front of the door we need to enter. Those energy cannons, if they hit you with their green energy, they don't do damage. They cancel your ability to jump or use any altitude-altering abilities like Queen Bee's jump or Aeolus' air dashes. So you need to kind of worm your way through it in a way they really don't want you to. Use the wind to your advantage there if you can. Otherwise, you have to wait for the very same Pseudoroid towards the end of the game that you can also use to get the Asaichi. But for doing this, we're going to get our 4th and final artifact, the Energy Balancer from Mega Man 6. 6 onwards, technically. Which made it so that if you got any excess weapon energy, it just went into whatever was the emptiest. This is a rough side quest to do, especially if you do it the way they want you to, because you technically need to wait until the very end of the game to finish it. But if you're good with your platforming, we can get it now. But yeah, there's these blocks. We can't break those until way later in the game. So let's take our artifacts back to Meg and see what we get. We even get dialogue for each one. What's that there? Can I see it? Oh, this is an L-Tank, right? You know, the E-Tanks we have nowadays, they've been around for hundreds of years. L-Tanks came along after the invention of the E-Tank. Performance-wise, they are actually superior to E-Tanks, but they were never mass-produced. There's a famous story of how long ago L-Tanks helped robots drive away gangsters and thugs. What's that you've got there? Can I see it? Oh, this is a pinwheel. How'd you get your hands on this elusive artifact? There's speculation among experts about pinwheels, but I've found from my own research that by using the air to turn a turbine, the wind can be harnessed to produce energy. It was expected to be the source of vast energy. However, for some reason I cannot explain, it went largely unnoticed and was forgotten. I'm sensing commentary. What's that you've got there? Can I see it? This is a balancer that was used on robots a long time ago. The invention of the balancer has contributed so much to our lives. It's a concept that we now take for granted, but before these came along, unused energy was simply wasted into the atmosphere. Balancers efficiently recovered unused energy to be used later. Out of the need to save energy, cleaner air was achieved as an unintended side effect. More commentary. What's that you've got there? Can I see it? This is a light bulb. Long ago, there used to be solar-powered robots. They used these when power from their solar cells ran low. But light bulbs were not a necessity for daily life. Since the conflict, energy continued to be needlessly wasted. That eventually led to serious global energy shortages. Quite a sad story. Yes, I finally have all the ancient artifacts from this area. Thank you very much. I'm glad I asked you for your help. I'd like you to have this for your trouble. And for that we get 300 energy crystals, but that's not all. We also get a sub-tank, hence why this is worth it. One more thing. Would you take that with you? I feel like I can trust you with it. Now remember how I said that on expert mode, you only get one sub-tank? That's the one sub-tank, so you need to do this side quest about halfway through the game to get the only health recovery you have outside of E-tanks on expert mode. Expert mode is rough, like I've mentioned. Doable, but rough, especially with some of the stuff they added here in the Legacy Collection. With that, though, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 10, I believe, we are going to not only head into our next couple stages, but now that we have Aeolus and Queen Bee, we're going to go take care of some side quests that we can now access. See you guys then.